and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live, and I'm Cyril Stober. The federal government, in its efforts to revamp the economy, is intensifying campaigns for made in Nigeria goods. This, analysts believe, can be hampered by the proliferation of substandard or adulterated products, be it drugs, beverages, other consumables and wares. Now they pose a threat to humans and the economy. It is estimated that about 15 billion naira is lost annually to fake and substandard products in the country, with associated reports of deaths and defamation. There is apprehension, especially with reports that for every original product, its fake alternative is readily available in the market, and that 80% of products imported into Nigeria are either fake or substandard. Now, what is the way out? What's in place to rebuild the confidence of consumers? What legislation or stringent measures are in place to tackle the menace? These are some of the questions we'll be raising tonight. But first, let's get to see this report by Vivian Idekpefo.
I've had people who were addicts to these foreign products. But when I met them, I changed their opinion about products made in Nigeria, especially my own product.
Lariat Al-Hassan, a paint and chemical manufacturer of 9 years, sharing experience on the difficulties in securing good patronage due to lack of confidence in locally manufactured products because they are termed substandard.
You have to know what you want to start. You have to do your research. You have to get yourself trained properly, Then quality. Quality. My watchword is quality. I do not joke with quality.
Nigeria has its share of dealing with fake and substandard products. For instance, in 2014, the Standards Organization of Nigeria destroyed fake products valued at over 5.5 billion naira. Analysts estimate that not less than 15 billion naira is lost to fake and substandard products yearly in Nigeria. This trend, they say, can be reversed if Nigerians are more patriotic in patronizing made in Nigeria products.
This is made in Kubwa Express Road in Nigeria. The Nigerian army gave this man an order towards the end of last year for 50,000 boots. These people are in Otta. We've been using this now for 2 years plus, no surge, nothing.
Going by business and economy publication, The Times Confidential reports, the hazards of consuming fake and substandard products are far-reaching as this affects human and material loss.
Yes, people are into production, but what is the standard of what they are producing? And how is the government helping, us to upgrade to meet the standard?
Once you get into production, the first thing you have to look for is the standard that will confine you within the specifications of the products, of the requirements of that product you're doing.
Consistent in the narrative about the Nigerian market is the issue of quality as related to standards. The question then remains how to rid the country of substandard products, even those manufactured locally. Vivian Idekpefo for Tuesday Live.
That report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's start off by introducing our guests. We'd like to welcome to this program tonight Senator Ahmed Abdul Qadir, former presidential advisor on manufacturing. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Pleasure being here tonight.
Let me also welcome Kashim Ali, who is President, Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, COREN. He's also a past president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Thanks for joining us tonight.
My pleasure to be here.
Okay. We'd like also to welcome to this program Felix Nyado, who is a Director Operations Standards Organization of Nigeria, SOM. Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure being here tonight.
Right, and we're also joined by Chief Vitus Ofodum, National Coordinator, Licensed Electrical Association of Nigeria, LECA. It's good to have you join us.
Thank you, sir.
And joining us from our Lagos Network Center is Shegun Ajayi Kadiri, who is Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Thanks for being with us tonight. products tonight.
Thank you.
All right. As we always do every Tuesday, we acquaint you with the procedure. At the appropriate time, you can get to join in the discussion in the studio. The various platforms will be on your screen. We advise you take advantage of them. However, for all those who would call in, we say this every Tuesday. Once your call gets through, do us a favor, just reduce the volume of your TV set. That's the way to avoid the hurlback or the echo. Turn down the volume of your TV set as soon as your call is passed through. And the best way to know that your call has been passed through is that your name will appear on screen. And once you see your name on screen, you know that your call has been passed through. We encourage you to just go straight ahead with a question or comment. Don't bother too much about the greetings. Just go straight to the point and keep it short so that others can also get on the platform and air their views. So once again, welcome to Tuesday Live. Tonight, we're taking a look at made in Nigeria goods and the challenge of substandard products. So let's begin by talking about made in Nigeria goods. That's what we hear now. It's become imperative for Nigerians to patronize locally made products. But let's begin to examine this as we start this program. Senator Ahmed Abdul Qadir, made in Nigeria goods, how acceptable have they become for the Nigerian populace?
Well, there's a good news today that the greatest majority of Nigerians today have decided to accept and patronize made in Nigerian goods and products for so many reasons. And most of the reasons are positive reasons. And I think it's a very good and welcome development as of today.
All right. Did it take us so long to get here, or the circumstances have suddenly forced Nigerians to look inwards?
I think as individual Nigerians, we've always respected ourselves and liked our own products. But on a general scale, the attitudes have always been to say that if you want to be an elite, you want to show that you are already doing well, you should not be seen to be associated with foreign goods. For instance, people will not wear what I'm wearing now. But today you can wear this anywhere.
This looks fantastic.
Exactly. But again, we had good music before, so people did not even want to listen to something, they preferred to listen to foreign music. But today, I'm told that parties is all Nigerian music. The Nollywood is growing. So many things. And these things were really there before. I'm seeing people now even going back to old films, old music. People send on WhatsApp now music of Ike Dairu, of all those music. They are coming back, which means all along we've known that these things were good, but we're just trying to pretend that if you wanted to be really touched, you need to associate yourself with foreign things.
Okay. All right, thanks for that. Let's go on to the Director of Operations of the Standards Organization of Nigeria. Now, at the time you found maybe the middle class and the elite developing the taste for foreign products. Usually is this excuse that it's a matter of quality. You know, if you want good quality goods, standard goods, then perhaps you needed to look across the shores. Is that really true?
No, that is not perfectly true, because quality is a global language, is defined, and quality is based on customers' preferences. And so what we consider a quality product in Nigeria that has met with the standards prescribed in Nigeria is equally the same product characteristics that you see in UK, that defined by the same standard. So what people try to do is just misconception. They are not aware that standardization is a global language, and that a standard defined in Nigeria, meeting with set parameters of that product, is the same standard that is defined in UK. The only thing that may differ is the cultural labeling or orientations that may be needed. But the quality of the product, the specifications that is required for that product to be acceptable, safe for use by the consumer, are the same.
Okay. All right, let's come to Chief Vitus Ofodum, who's the National Coordinator, Licensed Electrical Association of Nigeria. Now, you're into this area where many people would say, well, electrical products, are we sure that we do have products comparable with the standards that the director and the standards organization has talked about?
Thank you very much. In the area of made Nigeria's goods, in the industry of in the electrical industry, we find out that most of the times the cables, the manufacturing in this country are even better than the one abroad. And as it is today, a lot of companies that are making these cables have folded. But in Abuja, as I'm speaking with you, there's a company named Quali Wire and Cable that are just established, that have given Son's certificate to start doing the. We have inspected the place and the cable were okay. So the only problem we are having is the other materials that we cannot be able to manufacture in Nigeria. That some of our importers do go to China, Turkey to tell them the standard of the materials they want. Not that in the China that they don't make quality goods for their use, but the ones we Nigerians ask them to do is exactly the materials quality they are doing. And again, I wonder why we call ourselves engineers and we find out at the end of the day, a mere supplier, importer, we go there and bring fake materials, they bring it into the country and we start utilizing them. But through our finding, we find out that most of the times the reason why we are patronizing fake materials in electricity is that electricity comes last at the end of the building. You know, a client, when you want to start, you have money to buy cement. You can see there's nothing like fake in cement. There's nothing like fake in iron rods and so many goods that make up a building. But when it comes at the end of the journey, which is the electricity, in fact, the client might have been exhausted in cash, thereby looking for where we try to make sure he put things in order, to make sure he get electricity supply, thereby compromising and giving out the job to unqualified contractors that may patronize the fake goods. At the end of the day, what you need is like without considering the consequences that will come up afterwards. So what we need to do is to make sure that the son came up with something. Checkmate all these goods, making sure that any goods that is made out of this country that is coming to this country should not be labeled export only. You will see any goods that are coming in here that are fake. If it is made in the China, they will write there it should be export only, not to be used in their own country. So all these things need to be checkmated. And I think if this thing is done, I think we will enjoy electricity more.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go over to our Lagos Center, where we have the Director General of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Segun Ajayi Kadiri. So tell us from your end, what is it like? Are you thinking that yes, Nigerians are up to it? Are you seeing patronage of more homemade products? Tell us about the standard, the quality, and can you beat your chest and say, we are up to the task?
Yes, thank you very much. I think it's a welcome development that we have local patronage. It's actually something like the other guests have said. It is something that is good for the country. We make good products in Nigeria, and we have organizations like SON. I'm happy it's on this program. We have NAFDAC, we have CPC, all these agencies ensure that the products we make in Nigeria are quality products and they could easily be traced. So the issue of lack of confidence in made in Nigerian products is actually a misconception, as has been said by other guests. And what is actually important is for Nigerians to know that when you patronize made in Nigerian goods, you actually help the economy. You do not only ensure that Nigerians are kept in employment, you also ensure that we are able to have a process that develops the technology base of Nigeria. You are able to facilitate a process of higher capacity utilization. You are able to increase the skill that the workers in these factories have, because, I mean, when there's increased activities, you have a situation where every worker is fully engaged and more can be brought into the employment market. On the other hand, when you patronize goods that are made outside the country, you pay rents for those countries, you pay the interest for the interest on the loans that they have taken in those countries. You create unemployment in Nigeria and create employment outside of Nigeria. You actually help to bring down your economy. So I think it is important that Nigerians face up to the fact that it is better to patronize made in Nigerian products. It is actually safer, because it's very difficult for our agencies responsible for tracing fake and counterfeit products to trace those ones that come from outside the country. So it is safer for Nigerians, and it is better for the economy to look inwards and patronize made in Nigerian products, to the extent that we are now seeing a lot of improvement in patronage of Nigerian products. I think it's a welcome development. The government efforts in this direction, the realization that we don't even have the foreign exchange to buy those products in the first instance, is good for the economy, is good for the local manufacturers.
All right, thanks a lot. We'll return to you in a moment, but let's come back to our Abuja studio here and put this question to Senator Ahmed Abdul Qadri. Now, in terms of manufacturing of Nigerian products, have we got to the level where we can say these are standard products? I mean, some Nigerians would say, well, if I can afford it, why not?
Yes. There are some items that we produce, and we produce them that to the extent that the standard can compete with every global standard. Let's take, for instance, there is a textile industry in Kano called Angel Spinners. Angel Spinners produce one of the best textiles globally today, not only in Nigeria. They have won awards severally in Holland. Many times Nigerians will go to Benin Republic, will go to Togo, will come back with products that are made in Nigeria. They think they imported it. These are Nigerian products. Until when you realize that we realize that you're buying something that is called from Angel Spinners, it's at that point you know that there are so many good things that are made out of Nigeria. Another instance is, let's take, for instance, today, rice that is produced in Nigeria. Since the advent of plastic rice came out in this country, sometimes in November last year, till date, nobody is in a hurry to eat foreign rice. Everybody has decided to start patronizing the local rice, and everybody has now today accepted our local rice as one of the best, which in the past was not the case. All right? There are some industries, for instance, in Lagos that produce some floor tiles. Those floor tiles that are produced out of Wemco are floor tiles that can compete globally at all these things. And most of the dealers are saying that these are Spanish tiles, whereas they are produced here in Lagos. And these people can produce as much as 100,000 tons of these tiles within a week. So there are so many things that today we can gladly say they are the best in the market and outside the market. Take, for instance, nobody is in a hurry to buy any foreign juice today. Nobody. All the juice we produce today is what, in many cases, some of our neighboring countries are in a hurry to buy from us. Some of our pharmaceutical that we produce today are some of the best that you can get. Our only handicap in most of these industries today is access to some of the foreign exchange that they can be able to buy some of their raw materials. Now that's where the issue of local content comes in. We must try as much as we can to develop local content. In everything we do, in everything we produce, we must look at what percentage of local content do we to have in those products that we produce, so that we don't depend 100% on raw materials that are imported.
Right. So that's usually the worry. Is that not it? Because you could say produce in Nigeria, but what's the percentage of the content that is Nigerian? Really, if you import 80% of the raw materials and just put them together, could that really pass for made in Nigeria?
Well, in truth, there is not even any country that produces everything in its entirety. For instance, in the early days when we started using laptops freely in Nigeria, somebody was looking for where you go to a plant where you can have a complete assembly, where you have somebody manufacturing a laptop, for instance. But you can't get that anywhere. Parts are manufactured from various parts and they're assembled at a location, and it becomes a product of the person who assembled it. Even other heavy manufacturing, like the aeroplanes, especially the Airbus, every European country makes a contribution, and they will bring them together and assemble. So, but what we have as a challenge in Nigeria is a complex. We have an inferiority complex, and the challenges now have made us to try, we're tending to grow out of the complex now. Because like I said earlier, if you wanted to be seen as doing well, you have to be foreign oriented in terms of your taste for food, for wine, for everything. Now we're beginning to look inwards. Food now, people are looking inward. Like the issue of the rice. I'm afraid that when the issue of the plastic rice thing came, I had a surprise in my house. We had some rice that but my wife said nobody was going to eat that rice again. In fact, it was a loss. We lost some bags of rice. But it cannot, with all this uncertainty, there was no way they were going to eat. And so many things like that. See, the truth is, even the quality of human beings that we have in Nigeria, at the point we even lost confidence in our ability to do things. But the same people that were not allowed to do things in Nigeria were making waves abroad. Which industry, for instance, will you go to abroad that you don't have Nigerians? Is it in engineering? Is it in medicine? Is it in arts? Even because it's part of the saturation we have here. People are reporting all kinds of things. People are going out and making waves. So the major thing I see is not really about the low quality of our product, but more about our own inferiority complex, not to see any good in ourselves. So the circumstance will have to push us to do it. Later on, I think I'll still talk about it, but I'll focus more on what we are doing in engineering, for instance.
All right, because we would certainly need to come there. But let's come to the Standards Organization of Nigerian SIDA. So always this question about quality standards. You spoke of that initially in your opening comments, but let's dwell a little bit on it, if we may. It's been known, and Senator Ahmed Abdulkadir mentioned a little about it. It's been known that sometimes goods are produced in Nigeria and they are stamped made in some other countries. And Nigerians go for those goods, not realizing that they are actually their own products. Now, who is doing harm, or who is doing the greater harm? The manufacturer, the local manufacturer who decides to stamp a foreign label on his products, or the buyer who, consistently goes for what he thinks is foreign?
Well, I think both of them are guilty of the same offense, because it's the economy that loses at the end. For a manufacturer who decides to stamp his goods with a foreign name, means that he's not confident about what he's producing. And therefore, for him to get access to the market, he needs to go there with a misdisguised guide. But how do you get this confidence back to yourself so that you can be able to say, I manufacture a product and I can put made in Nigeria? The only thing you can do is to subject your production and activities to quality assurance processes. Right. And so if you are able to do that and you go through all the procedures that makes you get your product certified, you have a logo that gives assurance that this product has been certified. It meets with the requirement of the product standards. It meets with the requirements that customers want. And so you can boldly put the name of your company, their address, and location.
All right, let me put this scenario to you. Many a times, manufacturers of these goods, the claim is that the process of certifying the standards of their products is so cumbersome and so expensive that they'll have to go through a lot after having struggled to get, their factories going, get their production, and then they'll now go through all the challenges of certifying the standards. And so they claim that the process is cumbersome. Is that so?
That is not correct, because certification is a process. It is not just something you just apply for it today and you get it tomorrow. It must go through the process of testing, process of monitoring the performance of your product in the market. It has a market surveillance component, whereby let it not be that when the inspecting body comes, you do window dressing, and when they are gone, you push a different thing into the market. So it's a process in which you don't know at the market level your product is being picked, tested, and assessed to confirm that what they saw in the factory is the same thing that is being seen in the market. And because in standardization, the level of deviation should not be more than 0.005% of any of the parameters that was seen in your factory. So this process, and the thing is that for you to manufacture a product, you must be consistent. So after monitoring you for about 3 months, we have to establish the level of consistency in your production, in the service delivery you are giving. So it is the accumulation of all these activities that makes it takes a little bit longer. But the truth about it is that in the country, almost what we all talk about is the issue of electricity inhibiting growth of industries. But that is not correct. The most important thing that is inhibiting the growth of industries is the quality infrastructure of the country. Our metrology is not properly developed. Our accreditation is not there. And these are all, our standardization is there. Metrology is not all that developed. So if you look at, these are all processes or institutions that you need to enable you trade, to enable you get accreditation, to enable you get your product certified. We don't want to get a product certified, and if our peer review with the other standards bureau comes in, they discover that we didn't test it right and all that. So it takes a gradual process. There is peer review. You have to do interlaboratory comparison about the test result you are getting, so that once you certify a product, that product meets with the requirement of any other standards bureau that will do peer review on that product. And so that is why it's taking a bit of process. Elsewhere, we didn't want to put a quality mark on a product in a hurry, because it goes beyond the integrity of the organization locally. You will be looking at their certification, the acceptance of your certification by other nations in which you are a member. The ISO family, more than 156 or 63, have to accept results that comes out of your certification process. And so it takes a little time, little care to ensure that you are there. But however, like we gave as an engagement to federal government, that if somebody comes for certification, within 2 months, we can certify his product based on reliability of the industry. The industry is having a quality management system that is in place that could be verified and attested to, and all this. So if you have all these things in place, there's no way we shouldn't test you. Once we do our interlaboratory comparison and it is true, then we get your product certified. So it's not cumbersome, it's not expensive. In short, as I tell you, those who get their product certified pay less than 15,000. And government pays the other more than 100 and something thousand that is involved in that process. So for Nigerians, for locally manufactured products, government is fast-tracking their certification process.
Okay. Well, Vitus Fodum, you raised an interesting point in your opening comments. You said sometimes these goods manufactured in all these other countries, it's not as if they use such substandard goods in their own countries, but that Nigerians go there and tell them to step down the quality and say this is what they want, and they do. But you see, the thing is, let's stick with electrical products, for instance. It is also people who are in your association, for instance, who do this. So what do you do about that?
It's not our, we are being licensed. We are being licensed before we carry on any job. And as you can see, we cannot do it all alone. We have boys that does the job for us.
Because I'll give you a typical example. You know, you go to a typical building materials market, for instance, and the moment you're purchasing things like electricals, the first question they ask you, is it for private or contract for government? Yes. And they show you what they think is for government and what is for private. And this is open. In fact, you could go to any market and it's open. These things are not hidden.
The people that compromise are those people who does not have license. There's a lot of work out there. We that were licensed, we have our license number, we have all it takes, we have identification. Any job you completed, knowing fully where you are licensed, your name, your address will be in a template, and you fix it there. So what it does, the client, is that by the time we give, like instance, now we give a price like 10,000 for a job, and they could not be able to afford such quality job. All it does is to go through the back, because they always see the boys who keep at the site, thinking that they are the one, not knowing that they are taking instructions from us. So maybe you might have an intention of buying quality material for your building, but the possibility not giving the job to the right person will make you buy fake material. At the end of the day, you might believe in or trust your engineer at the site, not knowing that the fake man you have given that job have connived with him in order to get bad materials to do the job. At the end of the day, if anything eventually happens, you will not get that person, will disappear. But we that were licensed, we always there, and we do the right thing and the right. We don't even know what is what goods is meant for different organizations. We only emphasize on buying the right good for the right job, because everything have a quality and a capacity. So if you short of that, and rated, everything is rated. So we have rated fuse, we have rated wire, we calculate our loads and so on and so forth. The boys that are engaging into that job does not know all these things, but all they know is that Oga have bought these materials for job. For instance, if you go to little installation like transformers, if I have some AEDC staffs that are securities, drivers, engage themselves into doing such job. You know why they engage themselves? At the end of the day, they don't have much workers at their offices. So what they do, the moment the driver starts going out with them, looking at what they are doing in terms of changing fuses, at the end of the day, once they could not be able to lay hand on the right people, they will ask the driver, can you be able to do this? And eventually he has started becoming an electrical contractor. That is the problem we have in this country.
Okay, we'll explore. We'll explore that a lot more. But the phone lines are already open, and we have calls coming through. We have this call coming in from Lagos. Thomas calling in from Lagos. Hello, Thomas.
Hello, Mr. Steve. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Yes. The program.
Yes. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I said the program this night is very, very interesting. And what I just want to put inside is that local made products, you find out that we don't really have the finishing of the product in Nigeria is always of the low quality. Just for instance, I remember when we started bringing in foreign-made doors, that is wedding doors, that is fancy wedding doors. But later, our people here begin to manufacture the same doors, which was imported from China. And then you find out that at the end of the day, you find out that our own here is much stronger, but the finishing, the interior, that is the beauty of it, you can't compare it with that of China. So there's a lot of things we need, government needs to help the people, the manufacturer to put in place. Those finishing of the work to make it more good. Not that we don't want to buy from ours. We want to buy from ours, but when you look at, just for instance, you buy a shoe that was made in maybe either in Abuja or in Abuja. At the end of the day, when you look at the finishing of that shoe, it wouldn't be the same with that of China. And even maybe the one here may be more quality, either from the material, but the finishing is always the problem. So that is what our standard organization will help us to look into. We like to.
Oh dear. All right, I think we're having challenges with that line, but Thomas, we appreciate your call, and I think we're able to pick out a few things from what he said, regardless of the constant interruptions there. But one or two things you mentioned, finishing, and that's part of the question we'll put to the DG of the Manufacturers Association. There are two issues here which people look at. First, that yes, as long as there's a shortfall in goods that are produced, then the consumer would have to look elsewhere to satisfy his needs, seeing that many of the products which are everyday use products here, Nigerian manufacturers cannot meet the demands, and so people have to look out elsewhere. That's on the one hand. And again, when we talk about the quality of the manufacturing, the last caller, Thomas, has just talked about finishing. And it's one of the biggest issues Nigerians have with locally produced products, and that the finishing leaves a lot to be desired. What have you got to say about that?
Well, thank you very much. I think it still basically has to do with the issue of perception. It's been said severally and proven that we have good quality products in Nigeria, and packaging too has witnessed tremendous improvement regardless of the infrastructure challenge and the business environment in Nigeria. So I think to a very great extent there has been marked improvement in packaging and finishing. You would look, for instance, at the juices that we produce in this country. People complained before now that the packaging was not right, but you agree with me now that we have fantastic packaging for juices and so many other products. They look glossy and they will compete with those that we have all over the world. I will not say that we also need to make a lot of progress in terms of packaging and finishing, but it is so with every developing economy, and I think we need to keep on patronizing made in Nigerian products and be patriotic about this process, because it is only when you support buy made in Nigerian products, it is only when you patronize made in Nigerian products that you are able to increase the capacity of those who produce locally to be able to improve the products that they make. The infrastructure challenges we have here limits the capacity of the local manufacturer to actually match up to what happens internationally. But that is not to say that the consumer is not entitled to get the best that he can afford. but you need to be critical about what speaks well for the economy. You need to be interested in what happens the day after, because if you continue to downplay the issue of patronizing made in Nigerian product, you will have an economy that is perpetually dependent on imports, which is not good for everyone. So, I mean, you would see economies like China that decided to close more or less over a period of time, were able to tremendously improve their local capacities. And today they are dominating the world. So I do not think that the issue of packaging is a limitation that will last forever. And we have seen marked improvement in so many areas. So I think for the caller, it will be interesting for him to actually take a broader look, because there are so many counterfeited products, for instance, and there are so many foreign products that do not meet up to the packaging that we have and the finishing that we have. In some cases, those products that have bad finishing are actually faked Nigerian products. That's Nigerian products that are faked from outside the country and imported into the country. So you would see a situation where a Nigerian who should normally be proud of the products that are made in Nigeria is led by the assumed bad packaging to leave out what is produced here. So I do not think that Nigerians should go along that line. It is not good for the economy, and it will not allow us to have the required growth that everybody is seeking.
All right, we'll come back to you for the next leg of that question, but let's take this call that is coming through from Edu. Emmanuel, who's calling in from Edu. Emmanuel, hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
So my contribution against what people are saying is that, what I see is that we have a big challenge in product in Nigeria. The challenge is that we don't normally, any producer or any company does not normally go for a research before a product. But like for instance, there was a time this net, which is we call Boa, came out that time. And when we got, I'm a builder. So when we are using that product, then it was not strong as Dagote. So it was, when you use that net, it will pass like 3 days before the spread now, before the what you use it for now got to strong. So we now discover that the chemical used in Dagote is not used in the same this Boha. So that was really why the cement was not strong enough. So the cement now just got off. So later, after 3 to 4 years, the Boha now came back again. So as a cement. So right now, the product now is more stronger than Dagote, I'm telling you now. It's just that they are not discovered the chemical used in a Dagote. They are not discovering it. That is why the cement is not very strong. So I believe that before you go for any product, you must go for a research of what particular things that they use on that product that make that product, even the foreign product, you must discover it very well. What are the things that those things use before you see this thing be strong? So before we now go ahead and producing that product, you cannot, because of you graduated from a polymer, you know how to produce a wear. So you now go ahead and, but you don't know what are the goods, what are the things that are very strong that are used on that thing very well. So that is number one. Then number two is that it's not because of Nigeria are very greedy. They don't want to spend much about whatever they are doing. So because I believe everything has its own this, because they say that what is good, you must have to spend on what is good to be good. I don't know if you are understanding me. So that is it. So Nigeria are very strong. They are very greedy. They don't want to spend much about whatever they are doing. Instead of buying what is good, what is strong to produce your product, you went ahead and buy what is not what is cheaper because of you needed. So those are the challenges. I believe that those are the things that we have. Hello?
Yes. Well, with you. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Emmanuel. You've raised a number of issues, and hopefully we'll put it there. But is this just patriotism that is lacking, or, as others would argue, it's a free market, it's a free world, and it means that you're entitled to the best, for your hard-earned money?
Well, I see it in two different ways. First of all, if you talk of lack of patriotism, the lack of patriotism for the made in Nigeria products, unfortunately, I see it more on the governmental aspect, both the federal and the states. They tend to patronize made in Nigeria in far less content than the Nigerians. And of course, everybody knows the government is the biggest spender of money in the economy. So that needs to be something that needs to be looked at. But where does the issue lies? Under normal circumstances, these are issues with the procurements, whether at the procurement departments in the MDS or the BPP, that they are not strict in regulating and insisting that these are the criteria of what needs to be purchased for any governmental project, whether it's food items or building materials or whatever you think you need to. But they just put specs of what is foreign. And so long as you don't meet that specs of what is foreign, you're out. So you have to buy the foreign to qualify for what they want. And I think that is very, very bad.
Take, for instance, the issue of vehicles. So while administrations talk about looking inwards, the government wants to purchase vehicles, it goes for foreign vehicles, and without thinking of patronizing what's assembled here. You've heard that.
Definitely, and that is very sad. That is very, very sad, because today, if you can ask Volkswagen of Nigeria to produce the best cars for the ministers, including the presidency, they can. We know that those vehicles are, of course, assembled in Nigeria. But let's start with some few things that we can do and have some Nigerian content. There is this other young chap who is producing the armored cars for the military and the police. The patronage he's having is not sufficient. He needs to be patronized, because if he produces these things, they're rugged. You can look at Innocent and Newi. If you can be able to give some of his specs as part of what needs to be purchased for the police, the army, the navy, the air force, and the other paramilitary institutions, that will develop his capacity so that he can do much, much more than what he's doing. The same thing if you look at some other few industries that produce vehicles. They're almost going out because the patronage is just not there. So this is something that is very, very serious that the government needs to pay attention, especially the federal government. They will say, hey, look, governors, we appreciate what you're doing for the state police commissioners by providing them security vehicles, but please patronize made in Nigeria vehicles. If you have any problem with the manufacturers, come back to us. Then we can know how we can assist those manufacturers to develop their capacities. That's one aspect. If you look at what they are saying about things that are of substandard, especially finishing, that also comes to me as a challenge to standard organization, because these are issues of things that are produced by the informal sector. And the informal sector is the largest sector of the economy that nobody cares about. Let's take a look at Ariaria market in Aba. Before, when they produce their shoes, their bags, and what they have, they said made in Italy, made in Spain, made where? Because of the challenge that they are asked to make made in Nigeria, said produce in Nigeria, made in Nigeria. No. Now they will tell you that Italian leather. They produce shoes or bags, they will tell you Italian leather. They will not tell you where it's made. But they are very good products. They are made in Newi or Kano. But they will tell you Italian leather. Even the Italians get the best leather out of Nigeria.
Okay, let's talk to Greg, who's calling in from Delta. Hello, Greg. Greg from Delta.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
One of the challenges I noticed from manufacturers of Delta State is that they don't take into account advertising. One problem is that no matter how good your product is, you have to make it pleasing to your consumers. And all manufacturers, almost all manufacturers in Nigeria, they expect the government to do the advertising for them. Let's take, for example, the product one of the man made about a tester company. I've never seen an advert of that tester company at all in any national or international TV, and you expect me to buy that product. Whereas, let's say, for example, whereas I've seen an advert of Hollandia fabric on a good network on CNN. Now, how do you expect me to incline to a product that I know nothing about? It's the duty of a manufacturer to make his product pleasing to us, and that is where advertising comes in. No matter how good your product is, no matter how well made it is, without advertising, people won't know about it. That is one thing that manufacturers don't put into account. Advertising. Now, he mentioned Inosun. For crying out loud, let's say I want to buy a car. I see nice adverts of Kia Motors. I see nice adverts of Hyundai cars. I see nice adverts of Mercedes-Benz. But I seldom see adverts of Inosun cars. I seldom see their reviews. I don't know much about that car. I don't know the engine capacity. If I want information on it, the information are minuscule. But if I need information on the latest Kia car, I can go to their website, I can go to review sites, and I get the information. I am more inclined to buy what I know about. Then number two, information about manufacturing, about franchising and sales. Another thing, I was doing research on fabrics. I wanted to get information on fabrics to use. I could basically not get a website for any Nigerian fabric manufacturer. Basically, there was no website. But when I went to China, I saw all their websites, all their information, all their contacts. But in Nigeria, these fabrics, they don't have a website. They don't have any contact you can reach them. You have to most likely go to their warehouse. And this is the new world. I don't have the time to go to your warehouse to get your information. You have to make your information available to the public, which brings us to the third thing, your marketing connection, your marketing ability, or your marketing link. As I said, I do my research. When I go on Alibaba, I easily whatever China company I want to work with. But in Nigeria, I don't get any of their marketing representatives. You will send mails and they would not respond. In China, if you accidentally send a mail to any company in fabric, your inbox will be filled with response message in under 3 days. You will get tired of their response message. No, that is one of the challenges. But in Nigeria, I want to access a locally manufactured product. There's no website. When there's a website, you send the mail, you won't get a response. Then the final one is the packaging. For crying out loud, you have to make your goods acceptable. Packaging is everything. There was one woman that said, if you can package this properly, you can sell it. No matter how good your goods are, if you don't package it right. Nigerians, we like what we see. So you have to package it so we will be confident in what we are buying. It's everything. You have to package it right. Now, you see the shoes made in Napa. Yes, they are made in Napa. They are locally made. But when you go there and by the time you see the packaging, you'll be like, what kind of nonsense is this? But when you see an Adidas shoe, only the packaging will draw your attention to that Adidas shoe. You want to buy it because it's well packaged, it's well nice, it's well made, and you will fall in love. So until all these things come in, the manufacturer should stop waiting for the government to advertise for them. No! Let them start the advertising, let them start their marketing, their information, let them start giving their information to the public, let people start, the access to them should be free, should be open. And I believe you me, many of these companies, they would have markets, they will need to advertise for them.
All right.
But what they wait is they just wait for the government. I think that's a major problem, a very major one.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Well, you've raised so many issues here, and in fact, let's just put these issues you have raised on the doorstep of Sheikh Ajayi Kadri, the DG of the Manufacturers Association. You heard the man. He's talked about advertising. He's talked about the finishing of goods as well. But one big thing he's mentioned here is that we live in a new world, and people need access to information that many manufacturers, many Nigerian manufacturers, are not thinking along those lines. You hardly find out anything about them. They don't have websites. When they do, they're probably not updated for years. And even when you try to contact them, nothing happens. How do you respond to that?
I think the caller actually had some valid points. We are not as advanced in terms of using technology to market products as those more aggressive economies are. But you agree with me that we are also laid back in terms of our technological advancements. We only started using, for instance, GSM not too long ago. Also, the use of internet, the use of computers, we are also late entrants. But I agree, I mean, quite frankly, that we need to improve on that. And there are so many companies, especially the bigger ones, that have caught on this trend. It is possible for you, for instance, to access some of their websites and you would get loads and loads and loads of information on those ones. But I agree that, yes, we are not as fantastic in terms of catch-on technology as our foreign counterparts have, but it is a process. And I think as business people, you need to plan your model. You need to develop around how you want to sell. So I think the Nigerian manufacturer is listening. The Nigerian manufacturer is in a process of development, and the infrastructure for it is actually on the rise. So I think we are making steady progress, and it will be better for the economy. Like I will always say, it is better for the economy to benefit from all that is happening around improving the manufacturing sector. What I would like to advise the caller, for instance, is that he should make the extra effort in the process of development. The manufacturers that he said are looking for government to advertise for us is a bit far-fetched, because in the first instance, the manufacturer himself is looking to the government to patronize it. And I think that is the point that was made by the former special advisor, that we actually need to have a system that has government paying more attention to patronizing made in Nigerian products, because they are obviously the biggest spender. Even when we have foreign missions, even when we have support for foreign countries, maybe in Liberia, for instance, some of the materials that we supply in war situations, they ought to patronize made in Nigerian products, so that we'll be able to benefit in terms of improving the capacity of these local industries and supply them. We have tarpaulins, we have food, we have mattresses that are purchased even from outside the country and sent to those places. So I think basically to agree with him, there's need for us to improve in the use of technology, but at the same time, the Nigerian government, and I think it's a very important one, the Nigerian government ought to give preference to locally made products. The margin of preference that we have at 15% is probably inadequate. We need to raise it up to 50% because of the infrastructure challenge that we have. And this is not asking for too much. What Donald Trump is doing in America speaks volumes. Even though they are advanced and they have the capacity to compete internationally, there is still a conscious effort for the government to look inwards and patronize goods that are made in the country vis-a-vis those that are imported. I think that is just the point I needed to still in to make.
All right, thank you very much. And At this point, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll be looking at the use of technology. We'll also go into certain areas and find out just how well Nigerians are doing in those areas, especially in engineering, building, and so on. So stay with us on Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. Tuesday Live tonight, it's about made in Nigeria products and the challenge of getting those products to be of standard. So let's turn to the world of engineering now and find out, because this is a critical area of the economy. We have seen situations where structures are put up, those structures fail, the materials come into question, and in a scenario like this, the question would be, can we continue to trust our prowess in manufacturing some of these things that will go into critical areas like this, particularly in engineering?
Thank you very much. But before I just go into that, let me just say a little bit about what has been said, especially by the callers. It's okay for them to complain, because if you have your money, you want to buy whatever you want. So if whatever is available does not meet your standard, you have a right to complain. So I give them that. But the truth, we should also look at our history. And if we are comparing ourselves with any nation, we should also compare the history of such nations with ours. What did they do in Europe when they were developing? they had this economic protectionist theory that was used. They encouraged the export of whatever they had, no matter the quality. But they restricted imports. You recall in the 60s, even Japanese products were rejected, but they exported them all the same. Until today, they have the best finished products. So we could get there. What we have done in Nigeria is that we want to eat our cake and have it. We say we want to develop, and we're not putting the right policies that will enable us to develop. Before you develop, you must look inwards. And when you look inwards, you have to ring your boundaries such that you can, for a moment, say, look, let's do whatever we can. Let's look inwards and do whatever we can do with our resources, human and material. When after that you can come out and say, okay, here we are. This is what we have. If you are bringing in your own product, we have this to also send. Because even in those developed countries, not every product you have has variants. You have the ones for the poor, for the middle class, and for the high class. Even in food. So it's not, when you say something is not even standard, sometimes it's subjective because it meets a particular standard. Because if, for instance, you are going to put up a structure, now I'm coming to structure, right. You don't use the same sizes of rods, for instance, for different structures. The environment influences what you use in terms of even the cement, which has variance, in terms of reinforcement members, and even how you even do your foundation. All those things are, but those are also the trade secrets. Now, do we have the capacity to do these things in Nigeria? We do have. Often people talk about low quality of education and all the rest. We do have problem with our educational system, but not even at the tertiary level. It's not so bad. It's not as bad as we'll have the world believe. Where we have challenges right now in Nigeria, and why that takes me to issues of finishing, is at the very low level. The craftsmen, the technicians are not well trained because those institutions for training them have all collapsed. How many technical colleges today are in existence? You can point out the ones that work, and pointedly I can tell you, if you work in Lagos, the one works in Katsina, in Kano, and that's about all. Others, if you go and they are in dilapidated structure, what will make you remember that it's a technical college because there's a signboard that is very old. You go in there, you see sign of laboratory written on the wall, but you go in there, there's nothing in. You see even the roof has collapsed. So we have refused to develop people at that level. So that's where we have the issues. But at the level of tertiary education, there's a lot of work going on. And thank God for TED Fund. It helped the universities to also improve in their infrastructure and facilities. So today, what have we done? What gives me the confidence to say what I'm saying? In 2013, we had a stakeholders meeting to assess the quality of engineering education in Nigeria. Along that line, we developed a benchmark academic standard for accreditation of undergraduate engineering programs in Nigeria. We had a document for this. What we did was to send it out to the world for people to review and critique. We also ultimately sent it to UNESCO. UNESCO has a pool of resources that they send such documents to for review. And the outcome was fantastic, to the point that last year we had a high-level policy forum where we had UNESCO coming in with Asian countries and other. So now we are rated as having equivalent qualifications as those of 48 economies in Asia. So how does that play out? It doesn't reflect in the quality of services that we have in Nigeria? Of course, no. Because, believe you me, and I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility, both government and individuals are guilty of this, of patronizing those who should not be patronized.
Okay, we'll return to you in a moment. We have a Peter on the line, also from Delta. Peter, calling in from Delta. Hello, Peter.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Favor.
Yeah.
From Philadelphia. I've been listening to your program. It's a wonderful program.
Oh dear.
One thing I have to say is we have a problem in Nigeria, which is systemic. You see, the government, when we say we have problems in Nigeria, the government should be.
Oh dear, that line's not clear at all, and Peter, I would like to encourage you to call back. Sometimes this happens with the lines. I would like you to call back because we believe that you have one or two things to say. But if we just return to you, and yes, you said government and individuals are not patronizing the people they should be, and this is it's affecting what we see and say, well, because from assessment, from the from the outside, we just say, well, this is not good enough. If it's Nigerian, it's not good enough. So how do we address the situation?
How we address it, one way is laws, like if you look in all the among all the professions in the world that exist in Nigeria, it's only in engineering that they opened it up for anybody to come in. The law, for instance, for architects, you cannot be a foreigner and come and practice architecture in Nigeria. You cannot come and practice journalism in Nigeria. You cannot come and practice accounting. You cannot practice medicine. It's only in engineering. And we said that why is why I say issues of policies and laws. You open this your flank area where you need to close. You opened it up. The one you should open, you closed because you of a complex that you must listen from people from outside. You not listen to yourself. So it's open and everybody can come in. Anybody can come in today. He just says I'm an engineer, and he gets to the ministries and gets jobs. Before you know, we have had cases of people who have got jobs, who are huge jobs, and they are not qualified. It was maybe in the course of maybe going around that we see such a thing and we raise alarm. But why did the person who gave the job in the first instance give?
All right. Well, back to the issue of the quality and the standards and the finishing. And yes, what I see, what's appealing to me, it's the first contact. At the time I'm looking at the product and it's not entirely appealing, I'm beginning to think twice that probably would be the level of the quality of that product.
Yeah, what occurs is in the standards for that product, all these issues are set out. What the packaging should be, what the labeling should be on that product, and all this we are taking in consideration of what the what will appease the customer. Because in elaborating any standard, you are elaborating the standards to the requirement of the customer. And so, if you are the manufacturer and you comply with the requirements specified in that standard, you will definitely meet with the preference of the customer. Your product will be appealing, the packaging will be right. But if you don't look at the standard, if you don't comply with the requirement or the specifications stated in the standards, you will not be able to meet with all this, and therefore you will not be able to satisfy the customer.
Sometimes it's said that we don't put in enough research into our products, and we do not manufacture those products to suit certain situations. Take for instance with shoes. There are certain shoes that you would not wear in the rainy season, and some that would be just good for the dry season. But they say that producers just go ahead and just make the shoes and say, well, patronize it. Regardless of the fact that I'm going to be wearing the shoes in a particular place that is swampy, nobody puts in any research into that and determines the kind of leather I should wear, and it's all purpose. And the consumer says, should I just go ahead and spend my money just because I want to be a patriot?
No, what actually occurs is that every standard you see is a product of research. every standard you see is a product of research. A standard is just the aggregation of views of the stakeholders. And in arriving at this consensus, research must have said, given these certain environmental conditions in which we operate or is expected to take place, so and so XYZ, if you do it XYZ, you will be able to meet with that criteria. And so if you are a manufacturer and you don't look at the relevant product standards that fits your environment and you manufacture to that requirement, then you may be manufacturing a wrong product in a given environment. Because in standardization, one key parameter that changes the landscape is the environmental conditions of your area. And so if we are doing a standards for Nigeria, we still look at what is specified internationally, because that is where everybody goes to. And what is specified internationally is a body of research that has been aggregated by all the international experts, including Nigerians who were on that committee. But when it comes to Nigeria, we have to adapt it to meet with our environmental conditions. And that is where the issues of Coca-Cola you had came in. Because of their own environmental condition in UK, they have to specify certain limits more than what we are specifying. And so if you are manufacturing and you are not aware of this information, why there is trend, because let me tell you sincerely, standardization is a moving target. It is based on customer preference, it is based on technology, it is based on innovation. So if you are a manufacturer and you keep to yourself without knowing what are the current informations out there, then you will be caught up with technology change. Because these standards, after about every 3 or 4 years or 5 years, has to be reviewed to meet with the requirement of the present taste of the consumer. Okay. And so that is what has caused most of our manufacturers, caught them unaware and all that. But what we've done of recent is to make sure that during standardization of an ISO standards, we get the local manufacturers to participate in the elaboration. Because during that standardization work, you cut off a lot of research that you are supposed to do. Research cost is reduced because you get these informations that has been a subject of research by experts globally during that meeting. And so what we've done is that for every technical product that is ongoing in international standardization, we have a national mirror committee that is mirroring on that committee. And that way we get more manufacturers to participate in the elaboration of that standard. The information that is available during the elaboration process is made available to them. And so with that, they can plan. They know exactly what is going on. Like if you look at what happened, after every 6 months, in your handset, the telephone you use, there's a new version. These new versions are product of standardization. These versions you are seeing may have been approved as a standard 2-3 years ago, and this is now that this product is being translated into reality. And so standardization, like I said, is a moving target, and if you as a manufacturer in Nigeria, you don't participate in international standardization activities or the local ones that is taking place here, then you will be left behind.
Okay. Right, we have from calling in from Warri, Callistus. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I want to contribute on the topic being discussed, especially Engineer Kazim Ali.
Okay.
He
Right.
mentioned about all the last things he mentioned. But what I needed to add there is the project monitoring from Korea in all the projects in the country. We always hear of complaints that there's no security protection for the engineers selected to do the project monitoring. There are some project sites they will visit to, and they will receive threats, and that will not make them to go back to those project sites.
And we've heard a lot that they used to complain to Korean headquarters Abuja. There's no solution to that. He needs to talk more about that. And also the quality control. Because in the engineering curriculum, I feel that there should be more of the quality control, quality assurance and quality control, because that will be what the engineer will himself as he graduates to start work. And also, what I needed to add also, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria will have a standard. The problem that we are having, these local manufacturers, they are taking loans to do their products. So they are not after packaging, they are after making sure that they push their goods to the market so that they can have a return to pay off their loans. So thanks for listening to my contribution.
All right. Thank you very much, Callistos. Well, there are issues you've raised here. One, of course, will go to the president for the Council for the Regulation of Engineering, and the other to the DG of Manufacturers Association. But let's go to the DG of Manufacturers Association to address what you have just read. It said many manufacturers, where they struggle to secure loans to produce, their first business is not about aesthetics of how fine the product at the end will look. It's just how to push it into the market, get the money, and pay back. You agree with that?
Well, I think the issue, he mentioned a very important issue, which is the loans that we take. And to expatiate on that is to say that they come at rates that are not beneficial, that wouldn't allow you to produce and make profit. So to that extent, we are challenged about the access to funds that would allow us to produce and make profit. That means the interest rates are quite high. So when he says that we are preoccupied with getting our goods to the market, there's that preoccupation. But at the same time, like I said, it is important for the process of going to the market to also be conscious of the environment in which we operate, that we need to have products that will compete very well in the market. Most of the products that do not meet the right finishing and packaging are actually those ones that are made by manufacturers that operate more in the informal sector. And you would expect that with the infrastructure challenge they have and the limitation in technology and skill, it will be very difficult for them to actually produce and have the right packaging and the right finishing. But in those industries that are more formal and structured, I think we have better packaging. But I do agree with him that we have high preoccupation with paying our interest, which is quite high and debilitating. We have said that a manufacturer would require to have loans at single digits, not only single digits, but at 5%. Because in the global market in which we operate, we compete with goods that are brought into this country and produced from economies that have very low cost of funds. And so when you see a manufacturer focused on getting the right interest rates, I mean, he's actually challenged. So I think I share the views of the caller, but at the same time, we must be conscious of the fact that we have to go into the market and compete, and quality is of essence.
All right, thank you very much. Just before the current president takes on that issue, let's hear from Ibadan, a caller from Ibadan, Cassius, I believe. Hello, Cassius.
Cassius, yes. Thank you. Good evening to you. It is absolutely good to patronize locally made produce because of its low key advantages. But at the same time, I will not subscribe to ban importation of other goods and services. I will like our local sure that they meet up with the same standard as those overseas produce. And if the standard is the same and the price is relatively cheaper, obviously we are going to go for them. But for us to say we want to be sentenced to a totally new Nigeria, that is not acceptable. So for instance, Mr. President, when the first government, if there was a law that says, okay, let us independent only on our locally made goods and services, Mr. President was supposed to depend on our local doctors and hospitals. But we now went overseas to get the health back. So, but we have to advance on standard. We don't need to enforce and force. Let us, if the standard is okay and the price is relatively cheaper, and that's supposed to be, obviously we'll go for the cheaper one with the same standard. So that's how it's going to be. Then I think they should also create awareness. The awareness is very necessary. They create the awareness and the standard is good. Why not? We'll go for them. So that's my candid contribution. Thanks a lot.
Right. Thank you very much. Well,
thank you very much. Please allow me to just respond briefly.
Yes.
You see, we can't reinvent the wheel. You see, countries have used templates to get to wherever they are. And that is also, okay, we had the first countries, Europe and America, that were highly developed at the point. Asia, most of the Asian countries were not so developed, were at the same level with us, and they took a decision in the 90s, late 80s to 90s. And Nigeria joined. They created institutions like what we have in Nigeria and Aseni. They had it in Indonesia, they had similar thing in Malaysia, they had it in Korea. Those were the platforms they used. But before you can do such a thing, you must first of all ring your boundaries and develop your internal capacity to the ultimate. So by the time things are coming in, they will compete with you. We have no power of competing. I can say without any fear of contradiction that most manufacturers today are either giving rebates to people or they are cutting corners somehow. Because with the kind of environment we have, the infrastructure level we have, there's no way they can produce the quality of good quality products and sell at the rates they are selling and be able to flow. That's why even when they're talking about advertisement, we had advertisement in those days. We used to say love. There's this beautiful advert of joy. Joy Girl and all. They were doing it. PZ, where are they? All these industries have virtually died. The ones that didn't die ran away to Ghana. Even currently, there's this person doing tomatoes, who's Risco Bumped, who say he was moving his factory to China. So the environment is not right. Government must take a decision. We have a lot of redundant funds in Nigeria. That is why you hear today stories of, they'll say one individual has billions hiding somewhere. Where did they get that money? If it was not redundant fund, nobody will see it to touch. In a working economy, such funds will not be available. There will be in circulation in the economy. So now, why can't we have bank of industry giving manufacturers single-digit loans? Why can't be a policy of government? Look at the foreign exchange fluctuation. You know, the exchange rate was going out of, embarrassing the government. They came in and started pumping dollars, and now the thing is coming down. You could do the same thing for real sectors. Not for frivolous expenditure that we do with even our foreign exchange that we collect, but they can invest such money in that. So having said that, I'll come to the question of what my brother from Warri said.
Yes.
Yes, of course, because of what I said earlier, because the people who are on site are always quiet. They don't like anybody coming to monitor them. Of course, if you have the right qualifications and you are where you are supposed to be, when people are coming, you joyfully receive them. So we have that. But what we have done is to strengthen our regulation monitoring by including the police. We wrote, that is when the last administration wrote to the IG of police that, look, we want you to be part of this process. So every commissioner of police in the state now have been instructed, and they contribute their own personnel. We always have a personnel from the police force as a member of the monitoring team. We also have a member of the development control unit of every state also joining. That way there's representation, and at least with the police officer on the team, there's nobody anybody will attack you because he can call for backup even for his own personal protection. So that is being solved. So, but what we encourage is that people should, you see, I like the way, like National Union of Road, if you see drivers, if you just drive your car by the motor park, even if you are not picking, just to pick your friend who has been and see the kind of harassment you get, because there's a protection of, so we must also learn to protect our trade, because that is the business that we have.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Just some few corrections that I want us to make, and also an information.
Yes.
DG Man, correct me if I'm wrong. I still believe PZ are there, only that they're having their challenge, but they're still doing well. That's to DG Man.
Okay.
And President, I want you to please explain to Nigerians what are the mandates made for Naseni, and are we really achieving that mandate for Naseni today? Because I believe you must be a member on that board.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Naseni was set up really basically to do prototypes for all the things that we critically need in the country that will help stimulate our economy. And they have done a lot of prototypes. I give you an example, a simple one. Every day we talk about power challenges. Do you know that Naseni has a manufacturing plant for solar panels in Karshi? But even when government agencies want to buy, they go to Spain, they go to Germany.
Right. So it's what we're talking about, patronized made in Nigerian goods. You think that we are paying more lip service to it than in reality?
Well, we have the capacity to do so many things, but unfortunately there's no synergy between the key infrastructural sectors that are made to do most of this and the government itself. For instance, science and technology. Science and technology should have been able to mentor Naseni positively in so many ways, so that where all of these prototype things are done, how can they be commercialized? All the feasibilities and most of the research done by the universities and the polytechnics are still there in shelves. These are some of the things that need to be taken over by Naseni. And then Naseni will now bring them to reality, and then now, after whatever they do in prototype, then we get the right companies to commercialize them.
Okay.
But these are some of the things that are missing.
Right. Chief, let me come to you. For these products that you use in your world, which are those products that you think that made in Nigeria, of course, have such a high quality that we can say, yes, we would need to use these ones for our country than the imported ones?
It is only cables.
Cables?
That are made in Nigeria that are goods.
So those cables, we can say that cables that are made in this country are much better than those ones that are brought in.
Yes.
So why do we still find all those cables getting in here? And you find them in building sites. And we still find all those, well, substandard, if I might call them now.
It's because there's no policy to protect the you see, now, and there are choices. In truth, that even the cables we are saying are substandard could also be used for certain facilities. So it's not that they are useless. See, because they are, like I said, they're always variant. Now, but incidentally, a good thing about our own cables is that the cables we have here are so even the big contractors, international contractors in Nigeria, use Nigerian cables.
For Son, how much have you done in well, like products that are available here that have a high quality standard? How do these other ones get in? Do they also conform to certain variables that allow them to come in?
Well, the products that comes in various forms, using different procedures or method in coming in. But as a government, SON formulated the policy of SONCAP to actually test and certify imported products that were expected to come into the country. But you know, Nigerians are genius. They will go through the procedure of getting the certification, then at point of shipment, they will ship in a different thing. And because SON is no longer at the port physically to do random sampling to verify that products that comes in with our SONCAP is the same product that we are tested at the point of export. So through different methods, these products gets into the country. However, when it gets there, we've set up a market surveillance unit that actually go around, pick the samples and test. And if there's any non-conformance from these products, then enforcement activities sets in. So what we are doing is a bit of a reactive measure because of the looseness of our borders and processes and poor coordinations among security agencies in thinking Nigeria.
Okay, so if we all key into the patronize made in Nigeria goods mantra, and I go for Nigerian made goods, and for some reason of those goods not meeting up to the required standards, I suffer in any way, do I get a redress?
Yeah, there is the Consumer Protection Council that you can seek redress for. SON equally have a consumer collaboration feedback mechanism in which you can equally report, and we can collaborate with CPC to address those issues. And it goes beyond that with the present leadership we have. The new act that we have actually talk about prosecution.
Right.
So manufacturers who deliberately want to cut corners does not have a field day again.
Okay.
If you are caught in the process, you will be prosecuted. The goods will be seized and all that. So we are beginning to see a high level of compliance within the local sector because of these issues that if you are caught, it is not business as usual.
Right. Before we go to the manufacturers, let me put this to Chief. One of the factors responsible for patronizing goods from outside is about price, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes you find, because for some strange reason you would think that the locally made products would be cheaper. Sometimes you find that those other ones are even cheaper than the locally produced ones. What's responsible for this?
Responsible for this? Because the reason touched it before. Instead of getting to the point of serialization, they reduce, as the importers, ask them to reduce the quality to a certain level to make them gain more, thereby putting users into serious trouble. So what we need to do is to, we that were licensed, supposed to have collaborated with SON. We'll have their feedback, can as well meet with them whenever we find any fake materials. So what we know is this: any job you finished with the fake materials and fake job, and if you have their collaboration, I think all these things will go to minimum rate. So I'm using this opportunity to, when I was a chairman of Mecca in Abuja here,
yes.
I remember 2013 I wrote to them that if they need our service free of charge, you can do that. Just to make sure we eradicate the influx of fake materials in the system.
All right.
Because there is a situation where you see some cable that's supposed to be copper to be aluminum or iron, and they cannot sustain, they cannot withstand the capacity. And at times the rating of 1.5 that is coming from outside is far below. The insulation as well is terrible. They cannot withstand the test of time. And why we are enjoying this today was that electricity is not stable. If it is stable in this country, I think most of our buildings, most of the transformers will give way. Because why they are tolerating it is because there's a basic system. Once it's getting to heat up,
well, the power goes up somewhere, and then it cools down.
It will recover.
So you don't know that these are
like average of uninterruptible power supply for, let's say, 2 months or 3 months. We see all these
all these things coming.
So we need to wake up. Every aspect of government need to wake up and do something.
All right. Yes. Okay. Let's go to our Lagos studio and put this question to Shegwajai Kadri. How much of costs gets to play in what we're talking about here? Because if I'm a consumer, I'm looking for high quality products, but I'm also looking for products that will be pocket friendly. And well, just because I want to patronize the goods made here, I'd have a second thought about going for the one that is not pocket friendly, when I have an alternative that I can live with. What do you say to that?
Well, I think there are quite a number of factors that are responsible for having foreign products that are cheaper. Sometimes these are products of deliberate trade unfair behavior. Countries may decide to dump their products in your market so that you will take out the local producers and then be able to dominate the market. Another angle to it is the fact that we operate in a high-cost environment, which tends to make our products uncompetitive when you compare with the prices of those that are coming from outside the country. But I think there is a way that government can mitigate this. And I think in this case, it will have to do with doing things that will make the environment to be cost-friendly. We can talk about issues of interest that you can get at lower rates. We can talk of infrastructure costs like power and transportation, gas prices, and so on and so forth. So for the consumer who has to make a rational choice based on what he has, and now that disposable income is actually crashing, I think it puts the Nigerian manufacturer at a disadvantage. The rational consumer would like to go for products that priced lower. But I think he needs to be conscious of the fact that local products are traceable, they are more reliable, and you can trust that their quality is high, because we have agencies of government that has established to ensure that that happens. And it is important also to be wary of smart importers who might not be giving you the right quality, but they are able to do a packaging that will give you the impression that what you are consuming is that you are getting value for your money. So I think it still speaks up for the patronage of locally made products, that when you are making the rational choice, you should be conscious of the fact that you may not be consuming the right things, and secondly, that ultimately you will need to be patriotic. You will need to be patriotic. You need to patronize made in Nigerian products so that you can have an economy that is sustainable, so that you can create jobs for most Nigerians that are roaming the streets, so that you can contribute to the process of developing the local economy, the skill acquisition, and so many other multiplier effects that it will have on the economy.
Right, and so we take it from that level. It was in the 70s that the late Afrobeat king, Fela Nicola Kuti, sang about patronizing locally produced goods, saying that, you know, that number he called Buy Africa. As far back as the 70s. Today, here we are, still grappling with the same issues of promoting locally produced goods. What is it that we can tell administrations today and say, this is the kind of environment that will even carry the message further? You were once a presidential advisor on manufacturing.
Yes, there's one thing that's very interesting. I think the government has started looking things in the right direction. I think about a week or two back, they were able to approve the establishment of Industrial and Competitive Council. And I think if that is handled properly and in the right listing, we'll find so many things that will come in a very positive manner for the Nigerian consumers as well as the manufacturers, because that will benchmark so many things that are either produced locally with the ones that are being imported. And those who are trying to outweigh one another in an healthy manner. These are some of the things that that council will address. And I think that it's like a pregnant woman, that you don't know whether she will come out with 1, 2, or 3 babies. So many things will come, but positively.
All right. For Corin, time to walk the talk.
Yeah. Well, for me, I would still put a burden on government, because in truth, like I said earlier, individual Nigerians have value for Nigerian products. They use them, they buy them, but the government, being the biggest spender, must also join the Nigerians to do that. They will make progress. And there are certain things we could do. For instance, we have had policies that are not good. We have $500 million in ADB, African Development Bank. We have no access to that fund because of the manner in which it was put there. Other countries that have put such money, it's called Nigerian fund, no doubt, but you have no access to it. Other countries that have put there will say, okay, if you are borrowing from that fund, you buy, all the contractors will come from my country, you buy all the products from my country, the contractor will come from my country. Ours has no conditions, and it's there. That money is there, but we can never take it back, and we cannot do anything with it. 2, today we are importing rail tracks, finished rail tracks from China. The cost of freight alone is enough for to overrun the total cost of the project. Whereas we have capacity in Ajaokuta to produce all the rail tracks, and we are not doing anything about that. Why can't we do that? We have issues of also local manufacturing in Nigeria. For instance, transformers are manufactured in Calabar Export Processing Zone. Nigerians are working there. They have manufacturing transformers. The Ministry of the Power authorities are not buying from them. They go to Turkey to go and buy. We must look inwards. Even if it's a decision to say, for just 4 years, close our borders to frivolous importation, let's just look inwards and export as much as we can. It's a theory that has worked for Europe, and it has worked for Asia, it will work for Africa. Nigeria is the country everybody is looking up to as the next developed country in the world. Please, government must take that responsibility and deal with it.
All right. Now for maintaining the standards.
Yeah, what we advise is that the most critical infrastructure that is needed for manufacturers to trade should be made available to them. And that is a National Metrology Institute should be completed. The accreditation body that has just been established should be funded to enable them carry out the accreditation services. Issues of quality, testing capability within the country should be increased. That way, if all these are available, we will be able to test our product, we'll be able to certify our product, and these products can get across Nigeria to other international markets without hindrance. Secondly, Nigerians should be able to ensure that the issues of harmonization, standards harmonization within ECOWAS and the African region is taken very seriously, so that products that comes out of Nigeria should be able to meet with these harmonized standards so that we can export. And this needs deliberate policy by government to ensure that these industries have the capacity to manufacture to these standards that are being developed or harmonized across the region, so that we can export, play big within our territory. At least we should be able to say within the West African region, Nigerians products dominate predominantly. Yes, it does now, but there is still that when you start discussing at the regional level about the acceptability of our test result.
Okay. All right, and a final word on this? Where you find any of your members culpable, what do? You have internal mechanisms to deal with the situation?
As you can see, we have our monitoring team that monitors all these jobs.
Okay.
In fact, before execution, we should be there. And we thank God that NINSA is on ground. NINSA is a Nigeria Electricity Management and Service Agency that inspects all these jobs. After we might have inspect our own, they will inspect and give a certification. And then most of the times, any job they have certified does not give a trouble to the natural grid and the houses.
All right.
And we should encourage to give them support more, most especially the clients, to be patient for them to have that certification before energization.
Okay. And as we say goodbye to the DG Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, what's your parting shot?
Short here is that there is no country in the world that has become wealthy without having a strong manufacturing base. We need to patronize made in Nigerian products so that our industries will grow and so that we can become an industrialized economy. Thank you.
All right, so we'd like to thank you very much for coming on this program. Well, thank you so much, Segun Ajayi Kadiri, Director General Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, who joined us from our Lagos studio. Thank you for being part of this discussion.
Thank you for being part of this discussion. Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. And to Senator Ahmed Abdul Qadir, we thank you once again for coming up and sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you very much.
My pleasure being here.
The President, Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, Koren, also a past president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Kashim Ali, we thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you also, Felix Nyado, Director Operations of Standards Organization of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
And Chief Vitus Ofodum, National Coordinator, Licensed Electrical Association of Nigeria, LECAN. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Right. And thank you too for being part of this program. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Bye for now.